Buckle up, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Here's my review of number 11 in the Parker series by Richard Stark, who is a pseudonym of Donald Westlake. This is the Black Ice score. Um, it is number 11, yes, because in the ruthless, cold, mercenary world of BookTube, I've decided to jump in at number 11 just on a whim. This was almost 4 hours long, and hey, I wanted something to listen to, and we're going under the theory that hey, let's read something. If this series can stand up on number 11 without me having the slightest clue what's going on, then that shows that it would be a book that's worth doing. At least that's my new Steve Donahue inspired philosophy. And indeed, this book actually does do a good job of that. This is a crime thriller published in 1968, meaning this book is probably 50 years old, which coincidentally is what I'm coming up at. This book is actually older than me by probably a couple of months, or well, probably a year, considering the publishing thing. So yes, this is a book starring Parker. As I filmed this review, I found out Parker doesn't actually have a first name. He just goes by Parker, and I think it's a testament for how lean and swift this book is that I never really noticed that the main character only went by his last name. But it's also, he's always on his game. He's a professional. He's really good at his game, which seems to be doing crime. And he's also very ruthless. If he needs to kill someone, he'll just kill them. Won't hesitate. That's the way it goes. The things that maybe leaven him a little bit is that he cares for his girlfriend, Claire. And indeed, Claire and he are in New York City, where they've been doing shopping. Oh, I got sirens everywhere in the world. Where Claire's been doing some shopping. He comes back to the hotel room where Claire is supposed to be, and there's three white guys with a very strange accent standing there in the room going through it. And Claire's locked in the bathroom, and they're all about, hey, you're going to be on our side. You're not going to go on the other side because the other people, they've got nothing on us. If you go against us, you are dead man. And yes, so they threaten him, and he plays along very coolly, make sure that Claire is okay. As it turns out, what we're witnessing here is a new African nation has been born. The whites have been kicked out, and they want to get back in. They want to get the money, and there's some turmoil happening in this new Black Kingdom, where it looks like one of the corrupt new officials is trying to abscond with cash, and everyone wants the cash for their own reasons. And indeed, the other people, headed by Goner, Formateska, his right hand man, eventually do come to Parker to enlist his help to get them to do this job, or actually just to plan the job. They just want him to plan it, and then he can walk away. He's a little bit kind of skeptical because they're amateurs, and he is everything of a professional, and it goes from there. Unfortunately, because nothing ever goes to plan in this stuff, and Claire is used against him. I would have to say that's the one thing you would have to say about someone as ruthless and sharp as someone like Parker is. He's got that big. This is his big chink, and I guess this is the. If you're going to talk about sexual politics of 1968, Claire is very much a damsel in distress. But I have to say, weighing things at the time, she's a smart woman who actually kind of holds herself together while she is indeed in the damsel in distress thing. So another thing is, when I picked this up and I went, oh, okay, it's about kind of an African kingdom and stuff like that. I was like, oh, is this going to be kind of racist? Is it going to have weird politics? Is like, is he going to, is Parker going to be, he's going to be the liberal white guy who treats those Africans sort of like they're human beings, and tries to jolly them along and stands up against the drooling racists. It's like, no, it's just Parker treats everyone as, you're a human being. I'm going to respect you unless I've got a reason not to respect you. The whites in this book, who could be portrayed, because if especially since you see the Black African people in this book from a fictional country. That's why I'm kind of forced to use the the generic African versus saying specific nation in Africa. You could treat the white Africans as sort of drooling racists, which, in some ways, in the viewpoint of this book of, like, getting what you want, kind of a very immoral, ruthless world. It's like, no, they went in somewhere and they took stuff by force. And they took stuff by force. And then, of course, what's happened is, to rationalize that, you put in this racism and you've dehumanized people on the basis of their skin color. But there's almost a sort of a sense of, I don't know, pity, or there's a very clinical taking apart of the white Africans in this book, of looking at them and going, well, they're not European, but they're not really African, in the sense of they don't, they don't have roots there. They don't belong there. I mean, I'm sure as a white South African would, I'm sure, have for example, would have a different viewpoint of this. But this is, I guess, these are people who've been sort of, either they've left voluntarily or fled places where colonial rule has been knocked off, which is, I think you have to say is a good thing. But I mean, I'm saying this from a settler point. I'm from my own Canadian point of view, as we came. White settlers came to this country and drove people off their land very ruthlessly, and dressed it up under all sorts of bullshit, all sorts of racism. And so I think this book it's bracing in how this book has a way of just kind of cutting through the bullshit and saying, yeah, you took stuff because you had more power and you could, and then you dumped shit on the people that you conquered, saying that they were subhuman to justify your naked grab for power, when it was a naked grab for power. And, so that it's got a certain bracingness to it. I think the whole thing of, I'm not really into crime novels. There's very much what I see as an American thing of just, like, the media, TV shows, of just being so obsessed with law, like law shows with cops setting things right. And this is very much that bracing genre where, there's not a cop to be seen. And it's like, this is from the criminal point of view. This is from, the law is no freaking good. We're just going to get what we want. We'll avoid the law when we need to. If you cross me, I will kill you. This isn't going to go through the courts. It's got a very, I can see for us, a veneer of civilized readers who are seething in our own resentments. There's especially maybe male. There's that there's a wish fulfillment thing to being like, yeah, you crossed me, so I'm going to kill you. Very clean and simple, and satisfying in a very bloodthirsty and maybe slightly disturbing way. It's one of these. I don't think I don't want to immerse myself in books like this. This isn't my fantasy, but I can see the appeal of this fantasy, and actually, I'm just really admire how well this was done. Actually, because I know so little about this, I did look online, and this seems to be actually one of the lesser of the Parker novels, which is good news to me, because now I can probably go back to the start and probably slowly work my way through them when I'm in the mood. I don't think I'll mainline a whole ton of these, because I think I would get tired of them. I also, one last thing. I actually really admire that this book does this thing where we get Parker point of view, and then suddenly no Parker point of view, and we get a whole bunch of other stuff, and then, then Parker re-enters the picture. Actually, I don't think that's much of a plot spoiler. It's not like, oh my God, he's dead here and he alives. No, he just drops out of the narrative, and then he comes back into the narrative later. And I really enjoyed that, because it allowed you to get into the other people's heads. That's where you get kind of the white South Africans. I say white South African, the white African, the white colonizer, white heavy, white bad guy point of view as a human being. Maybe, not super deep, but, enough that kind of gives you a sharp etched drawing of a certain type of person. And also, you get points of view of Goner and Formatesca, who these these the new Africans that are the rich OG Africans, and so it's all I really like that we're not completely on Parker, because Parker himself, he's really admirable and he's really amoral and he's really good at what he does, which is that's how you can make might make me as a reader sympathize with someone, like they're really good at what they do, and it's funny how that kind of competence is such an attractive thing in a book. But it was really great to get the other points of view in there. It breathed out what could have been too skeletal of a book. It gave it some meat, gave it meat to it. So yeah, that is my review of The Black Ice Score by Richard Stark. God, all these punchy names. So I will most likely yank up another one. I might even yank up another one while I'm doing the Booktubeathon, because they're the lovely short, sharp books that were written in days of yours versus the big thumper novels that make it so hard to get anywhere when you're doing a Jay Shea-a-thon, which might be coming up very, very, very soon. All right, that's my review. I've gone on way longer than It's funny, in the novel, probably the greatest scorn goes to one character who can't say things concisely. So I think Parker would be looking down his nose at me right now. More videos later.